Well, I'm out here at 6 a.m. That's just sun up because it's going to be 40 degrees Celsius today. That's pretty too hot for me. So I'm out here while it's only 20. While it stays 20, apparently by 9 o'clock it's going to be pretty hot. So I've only got a small window of time to be out in the garden. I've already walked around and done a bit of chop and drop and just a little bit of maintenance, tying things up and that. But there is a job I really do need to get to, and I've been looking at it for a couple of weeks now going, I really need to get to it, and it's getting pretty urgent. So I'm out here now to do what I would have loved to have done by Christmas. Most people do it winter time, but this is the best time to actually do it, and I will show you. It's my Youngberry patch. Now, believe it or not, this is just one plant, and we got about 7 or 8 kilos of berries off it this year, but also lots of new canes, which is extending all the way around the side there, and so it's time to cut the old canes back. There's still some fruit on here. You'll see there's a few fruit here and there. I've had it uncovered for about 10 days now, letting the birds just help themselves. And strangely enough, there's actually some ripe berries on there that the birds haven't touched. But I think that might have been just they've ripened really quickly in this hot weather. So we're about to get another 3 days of around the 40, late 30s, 40s. So it's going to be very hot, and so this is really a job for ASAP. So I've got my new little cart over there. I'm going to basically cut back what needs to be cut back and chop it into there in smaller pieces for composting, and I will show you what I've done at the end to explain how I'm going to maximise the next lot of berries from this plant. So what I have to do is I have to find the original canes, the ones that have already fruited, and follow them all the way back to the main plant, to the bottom. Now, the thing with this is I have grown these on like a 45 degree angle across from the structure over there over to here. So it is all behind there. So it's going to be a bit of fossicking, so very difficult to film. So what I will do that. I will find the canes that I need to chop them out, and just like that, I'll show you the after. So once that's cleared, and then show you the next step. So this was good timing for a number of reasons. I'll show you why. I'm glad I didn't leave it go longer, and if I'd left it go till winter, I definitely would have had more problems. So I'll show you a few things. Now, turns out there's 2 plants. I thought there was 1. So I did accidentally take out one of the new canes, a very strong cane, but that doesn't matter. The plant actually has more time to grow more if it wants to, but I've still got 3 strong canes for this one, which is enough. I'm going to tie one to each of the wires, I think. That's what I'll do. But you can see how long they've got. I've got it draped over. This is where I will eventually cut them at the top once it's pulled tight. So it'll actually come over probably another, 30, 40 centimetres. But all of this is excess, and all that can actually come off. So it almost reaches the ground again. In fact, it would if I pulled it tight, it'd reach the ground again. We've got some bugs, problem bugs, moving in. Where is it? There. You see that? Now they'll attack my grapes right next to it. So, but down here on this one, there had been a little bit of scale. Now, there was sign of scale right at the base, and I'll show you this piece that I cut from the base. You'll see that there's sign of a white scale there. Now they're not there now, that's the leftovers from them. So something has dealt with it, but this being all very leafy, no sun getting in, it is actually a great opportunity for scale to develop. And I would have been watering down in there too to keep these plants watered. So I can actually back off the watering a little bit now. This one has got quite a lot of strong canes on it. So what I'll do is I will pick maybe, actually I'm looking at it, it was all coming from here, but I think there's new ones here. So what I have to do is actually monitor this plant, because some of it is prickly, like this here, which I don't think it's coming off the main plant. I think it's from seeds dropping and then reverting back to a blackberry or the wild, whatever it started with. So I pull them out. Now when they're young like that, they're pretty easy to pull out. And I did find a few in here, and they're only small and very easy to come out of the soil because the soil's all nice. So I've pulled a few out. You'll see them here in the box. So easy to identify because they're full of prickles, whereas this Youngberry is thornless. So another reason is all the plants that are around trying to grow. So I do have some scarlet runner beans in the corner of this bed, and they were being shaded out, and you can see the pods have been hidden underneath all of that. So that has started to grow, and that has got quite tall. It's all the way up to the top here and coming back down again. But it was being tangled up in that, and the longer I would have left to pull that out, the more damage I would have done to these plants, because I have had to tug quite a bit at them to get the others out. So there's some massive pods here that need taking off the plant, but you can see I've had to pull the bean at the bean, so I will fix that up too. So now I will get all of this, pull it back over the support, and then I can tie some of them to it and trim the tops at least. I'm going to try and get that done very soon because it's starting to get really hot fast. Now over in this corner there was a Youngberry that had grown right down there at the base of my grape. I cut all of that back. There's some through there I've got to go get, but I've cut all of that back because I don't necessarily want it growing there. I left that kind of open to the birds and let them have those berries, but it's not ideal to be growing in there. I've cut that back, and what I will do while I'm in here, but not today because it is getting hot, I will get to the comfrey. I've cut a little bit of it. I'll get to the comfrey, cut that down to the ground again and mulch in there to keep that weed free. And what I have done while I've been doing this is a lot of the perpetual spinach in here was going to seed. So I've cut that back, pieces of it, chopped it and dropped it behind me in this fabric pot in the grow bag that has got a young asparagus in it, a purple asparagus that has been very much needing some mulch for quite a while, and I haven't got to it. So now it has a mulched top surface of the spinach. And oh, while I'm here I find these bugs that are not good bugs. So I found a grasshopper today that was a really bad beetle. Only one of them, but a bad beetle, and an earwig. So not my favourite bugs. And I've been throwing the berries as I find them to the chooks, and you can see that one particular chook is hanging around hoping for more. Hey, you're looking quite well fed there, lady. So some of these have also been falling all over other plants, including a tomato over here, which I haven't worried too much because the tomato seems to be quite happy about it at the moment. But I know in time that's going to change. And I can see as I gently try and pull it away that there's tomatoes waiting to be picked by the looks. And the longer you leave this too, the more likely you're going to break it as you move it, which I'm, trying not to do now. So ideally, around Christmas time is the best time for me to be doing this. But as you know, Christmas is always so busy. Found another prickly one while I was doing this. Okay, in you go, come on. All right, just pushing it up. I won't tie it on because I'll let it sit there for a while, adjust to being there, and then I'll be able to move it over further without breaking it. And I'll get to this prickly one. And I've got garlic in here that's been waiting to be picked, and by the looks that has helped finish off the calendula that was there as well. So I'll cut that out too. You see this bean is trying to climb up the calendula. Can go in that direction. There's also zucchini on the corner here, which I'm surprised it's kept growing, but it has been quite shaded. But it's even got fruit under there. It's almost ready to pick that one. Lots of flowers in there, but now a bit more light. So I've had my little sit with the chickens. One of them still, they're so cute. One of them still sort of standing beside me, preening herself and puffing herself up. Very happy to be out a little bit early this morning. So I decided to let them out. I don't like letting them out before around 10 o'clock because their pen's sufficient, but to free range because we do have foxes that get around, and they have been sighted in our estate. So unless I'm with them, I don't like them to be out on their own unless I can watch them. So because I'm out here to do that job there, they're getting an early play outside, and they do like to come up and say hello and you know, forage around you. They're very, very cute animals to have. This is take 2. Actually, it's take 3 because I forgot to turn my mic on. Okay, so over here, this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to speed it up because it's getting hot, and I spent all this time explaining everything, and now we've got to do it again. So we have got canes growing out. Now what happened was originally this plant was growing in this garden bed, and through it growing and getting overgrown and not being monitored, it put its heads down into the soil, and they'll propagate themselves if the tips of the plants end up touching the soil for too long. And it has grown right beside the hothouse wall. So it's growing just on this side, right against the wall. Now I'm surprised it's grown so well there, considering it's between that and some bricks, so it's pretty hot for the roots there. And it is also not, it's a bit hard to feed it in there or anything. So I have been watering it through the growing season, so it is getting a bit of water, but apart from that, not much else. So what I will do, there's 2 plants here. This one's smaller than that one, and I will pick 3 leaders off here, and I will tie 1 to the top, and then I'm going to tie probably 2 to the top and 1 to this level here. Now I've got 3 levels, two bits of wire. The first wire is about 1/2 metre off the ground, and last time I did tie, what I did is whatever was tall enough to reach that, I tied to that, same to that, and then the lower level. Now because this plant is growing on a 45-degree angle, not straight up and down like usual, it copped a lot of sun during the less severe weather and loved it, and so it just threw out so many flowers and it produced a lot of berries. So I accidentally stumbled upon that because of the situation where we had it here originally. It's growing over there now, and I had to get it to reach here. So it just was a happy accident. So that's how I'm going to grow them in future. So I'm stretching it across to this top one, and instead of attaching some to the bottom, I'm going to come up a little bit further. Now the reason for that is because having the plant grow on that angle was really fantastic, because underneath it I could see what was underneath it. Now with berries and a lot of foliage, once it gets hotter, you do worry about things like snakes and that. We don't get many here. It's a very domesticated, built up area, but it's still possible to get them. And but we do get the lizards and that, so I didn't want any special frights, or and I do want to see under it. I just felt better when I could see clearly under the canes. Not only that, I have things like strawberries growing under there, or had been started under there. There was a little bit of flowers which have come out and reached for the light, and I had perpetual spinach under there, which it tried to bolt all the time, being too far under there, but the seeds that were here grew fine. So my thinking is, if I stay away from that bottom layer, it'll be a little bit easier to pick the berries, being a little further up. I'll have a bit more space under there and a bit more light. Having it like that, I was able to throw a little bit of compost underneath there once, I think, and I was able to water under there easily without touching leaves. Now I do get that disease that affects the berries. It comes very late in the season. You don't see it until right at the end, and it stays pretty healthy looking up until then. So getting them off the ground is a good idea. What I didn't do last year, and that I've learnt since, is to keep the foliage and that pretty clean down the bottom, and that will help with that. also helps with airflow. And it was a little bit tricky to see the berries right in there. I had to get around in amongst the plants and kind of, you know, it was like an Easter egg hunt amongst all the foliage inside there. So that was a little bit tricky, but if this was clearer up to here, it would be a little bit easier to harvest those from the bottom. So that's the plan. I will put this on time lapse now and we will have a look then to see the end result. There is a cane that's coming from the middle one out here, and it's this one here. This big long one. So somehow I've got to get that back out of there. And this one closest to us has got too many. So I'm going to cut some of them out. So I'll do that first and cut some of them out. I'll keep the strongest ones and take it from there, I think. So some of this is, so that's tiny, that can be taken out. What have we got in here? It's tiny. Oh, that's probably from the other one. I'm going to keep this one because it's further out from the centre. I think I'll be strategic to get this one out because I do want this one. I think I'll take that one even though it's a pretty strong one. I'll keep this one, this red one here, and one or two over there, and the rest I'll cut out. So I'll chop it a bit further up so I can get it out easier to follow it up. Now these leaves are going to die back in winter, but you do want to try and keep them on for a bit because it's growing the plant for next year. Okay, I got the first one tied up. Now to get it out, I have had to cut a lot of its side branches off, which is fine. As far as I understand, that's I think what you're meant to do anyhow. So I've tied it to the top of here, and you can see it's got its main leader, and where I've cut the side branches out, I've just left a node or two on the side. Now I probably should have left more than one here, but look, I'm trying this for the first time. So what I'll do here is I will cut the top. That's going to throw side stuff out anyhow. So, and I'll cut some of the dead stuff off. So that's one done. I'll do the rest and then I will show you the finish. Wow, isn't that better? So, okay, this again is an experiment. So, you know, all of these things are fun to try. And I've done the best I can. I'm open to advice, if it's offered kindly, of course. But basically I've done very similar to last year, and I've trained them up here, cut them at the top. I didn't take the side branches off, I don't think, last time, because I did it later. I did it in the winter time. So this time I've taken them off to about 2 or 3 nodes, any side branches on these main canes, and trained them up the top and the next run. So I've spread them out as best as I can. I've also headed those off too, whereas last time I just trained what was that long on there, and I've headed those off because a lot of the growers do that, and then they grab 2 side shoots, side branches, and train them along the wire. I will see what happens with that. If I get to them, hopefully, I'll do the same and then maybe cut them short and see how many berries it gives me. But basically, it's cleaned up the bottom a lot, chopping those side branches off too. It's kept it clean, so it might not be as bushy this time. Let's see. But it may be that it is because I've done it earlier and it's got more growing time to throw out growth from the main cane. But it has opened up that space, and you'll see I did mulch at the time I did it last time, and the mulch has there's a little bit on it here. Further back there's not a lot, but the mulch has kind of not done a lot, which tells me that hasn't been that active underneath there. Didn't get a lot of water under there, so that will be probably why. The worms and that like water. So what I will do with that too, there's a poppy in there. I'll show you in a minute. I'll encourage that to sow underneath there. Now this was covered. The other day you couldn't see that box or that tomato. It was right out to here. You can see where the grass is kind of not growing there because it was all sprawled out to here. So there's a great big bush on there. So that's put it back in the garden where it belongs. The garden border is actually at the end of that brick there. So we've got a zucchini here that we'll be very grateful for that. Started to get a bit of light and it's growing fruit here. That's almost ready to pick, that one. That's the first one I'll pick off this. But it's going to be happy, but what I'll have to watch it doesn't grow out that way too much. So I might throw a stake in there somewhere and encourage it that way. So that's the zucchini in there. Now the scarlet runners have been trying to grow amongst all that foliage, and there's good and bad in this because the scarlet runner are a bean that doesn't particularly like the hot weather. They kind of take off once it becomes autumn. So the vine has tried to grow up there. As soon as I've opened it up yesterday morning, the heat has knocked the leaves. So that may die back a bit. We'll see, but it won't kill it. This is about the third year of that plant being in there. Some of the seeds in there are a little bit newer though. It might be 12 months old. So in that ground there is scarlet runners. So they're a perennial, well, not a permanent perennial, but about a 7-year bean that I don't have to bother with. So there's a few plants that will self-sow, like I said, the perpetual spinach, and this has given the strawberries a little bit more ground to throw their runners in. They are full-size strawberries too, so not the alpines that I've got just about everywhere. And this is the soul poppy that didn't get a lot of light. It was covered in the net a lot of times, so it didn't do that much, but I was going to push it back behind that leaf and see if the seeds will just drop in behind there where it's sheltered, and I might get some more poppies just without planting anything in there. That was a little seedling I took from a grow bag that was struggling, so I didn't expect it to actually flower, but it did. So there you go. That is another job. It is hot now. I haven't got my phone on me, so I can't tell you how hot, but I'm guesstimating around 30. So it's time to go in, but I'm very happy that that's done. And it just goes to show, if you get out there for an hour each morning, that the garden just powers on and you get so much in return for that bit of effort. And it wasn't exhausting to do that. It was just, you had to think how to untangle more than anything. It's quite light work. So there we go. So as my girls head to the forestry side of their yard, as they are aware that it's getting hot too, I will go and water down their pen a bit because they like to sit on the wet ground. It keeps them cool. But I invite you to check out the Power Hour Gardening Challenge playlist, where you'll see lots of other jobs around the garden and how I have been building on what I started with, which was a weed infested backyard. And it's a food forest, giving back every week lots of food.